Okay, so today we're going to talk all about social diet and the importance of the people we spend time with. And this is all about rising above other people's influence, negative influences, and optimizing our influences in life. As Yogananda said, environment is stronger than willpower. So our environment and the company we keep are of top importance to fulfilling our life mission. And we want to be able to make better choices with the influences we surround ourselves with and maintain the friendships that have the most promise. Okay, so here's a question to think about. Have you ever noticed how some people influence the words or expressions you use? That sometimes you say something and it's like the same way somebody you hang out with says things, right? And if yes, that's a big deal because it shows that their influence can become the fabric of your thoughts. And that's a big deal because if you hang out with somebody super negative, then negativity gets transferred into your thinking process, right? Now, have you ever noticed, yes or no, if hanging out with people who are stressed out stresses you out? Yeah, absolutely. Have you ever noticed how some people, if you spend time with them, they can heighten your fears or heighten your frustrations, right? And have you ever noticed how it can be depressing to hang out with some people? Right? So
And there's some people you hang out with like you guys, it's just totally joyful.
absolutely. And then some people are just totally endearing, like this little sweetheart here. Anyway, so yeah, have you ever noticed how it's harder to do the right thing when you're surrounded by certain people? Right? Like certain people who are just, you know, more drawn to doing the negative or wrong things. And did you notice how some people try to consume you into their drama and conflict in life and pass their pain onto you? Yeah. So, okay, why do our social influences matter? Let's consider this. You know, agree or disagree. The happiness in your life depends on the quality of your thoughts. What do you think?
Yes.
Yeah, hands down.
Yeah, like you could be super fit and super wealthy and everything else, but if you're depressed or anxious all the time, that's not a high quality life in spite of having all the external things be in check. Now, agree or disagree, the quality of our thoughts is heavily affected by the people who influence us. Yeah, totally, right? So we tend to bring our standards in life to the level of our peer group. And there is a transfer of energy and a transfer of consciousness. And whether we realize it or not, consciousness is actually what matters most in life because everything is ashes to ashes, dust to dust. It all goes away, just like all the old relics and people that have lived in the past. All that stuff goes away, but our consciousness continues. And it's the most valuable asset we have. And some people will raise our level of consciousness and some people bring it down. But our level of consciousness in our mind is where we go when we're sleeping and when we exit the body and go into the afterlife and everything else. So this is one of the most important topics we can possibly discuss. So here's something to think about. You know, are most of our friendships, and this is just a question for any of you, like, are most of our friendships based on usefulness, pleasure, or virtue? Something to think about because most of the time people leave this to chance. They hang out with people that are fun, but not necessarily virtuous. You know, they hang out with people because there's a functional utility reason for it. Or sometimes they hang out with people because, you know, it brings it because they share the same values, right? So something to, and sometimes it takes time to reveal what some friendships are made of or why we have some friendships. Anyways, any thoughts on this? What we base our friendships on?
I think for me, I base my friendships on usefulness. I am have a like-minded person or a peer, in my space. I love going to the gym and I make friends there only because they're useful in the fact that I'm in that space, right? I typically do not make friends for fun. I'm very purposeful about my friendships. And fun is not purposeful for me in that way. I can have fun, with these to me and who I am also influencing. So there's purpose behind that. I always say, show me your friends and I'll show you your future, right?
Show me your friends and I'll show you your future. Well said. Well said. Joel, any thoughts?
As it relates to me personally, I usually think more of character and substance when I think of, just quality friends, people that have something to contribute, people that have a, kind of like Patty's saying, that aren't just there for a party. Not that there's anything wrong with being joyful in life, but, just people that, and the people that push you to grow and that don't mind when you push them to grow. So it's kind of you all go forward instead of staying comfortable.
Yeah. Excellent. So, as we kind of discussed, the company you keep is one of the most important things in your life. And our social diet plays a big role in who we are. And social diet basically consists of who we spend time with, who we're associating with. Some of them may be helpful, some of them may bring us down. So I encourage people to consider, what is the meat and potatoes of your social diet? Like, who are the 5 people you mix with the most? This could include, like even a masseuse, a coworker, a friend, a significant other. But I encourage everyone to make your list. Like, who are those 5 people you spend time with the most? And then ask yourself, are they making me better? Yes or no? Are these people you would want to be? Yes or no? Why or why not? Do they challenge me in a healthy way? And sometimes the people who trigger us are challenging us in a healthy way because they bring opportunities for improvement to the surface so we can deal with them. Other people enable us. They are always trying to make us comfortable instead of pushing us to make progress. They're trying to just enable us in the wrong thoughts and wrong attitudes and justify all the things we're doing wrong, right? So number 4, I would say, would I benefit from spending more time with them? Yes or no? Number 5, in terms of evaluating this, I'd say, are you clever enough to detect the ways in which you take on some of their negative qualities? Right? Something very important to consider. As Goethe, the philosopher, once said, tell me with whom you consort and I'll tell you who you are. And, or I'll tell you what you are. And Jim Rohn once said, you are the average of the 5 people you spend time with. So we just want to reflect on these questions, and number 6, I would say, would you recommend this relationship or friendship to someone you care about? Because sometimes we wouldn't, when we're just friends with people out of loyalty or just because it's been a long-term friendship. And so those are some things to think about in terms of evaluating the current connections we have in our life. And we can also, we could do a companion audit, like just take a week and make a list of the people you spend time with. And it's our friendships, our romantic partners, parents, siblings, workplace, and other. And just think about, in what ways is this connection unhealthy? In what ways is it healthy? And what are the ways to improve the relationship or the enjoyment of it, right? So that's something to think about as a broad overview. And one thing that I encourage people to do is do a bad influence audit or a bad companion audit. So I'm going to do this. I will take everybody through a list of questions. And all you have to do is write down any names that might come to mind for anyone that might be applicable to you in your life. Now, for some categories, it might not apply. So just pass and then continue on to the next item. But this is very important to go through. Okay. Very important. Is everybody ready? Are you ready? I'm telling you, like, she's just been staring at me now. Okay, now, first of all, who, I know.
I had to put on my raccoon mask.
That's why I act like an animal, you know, because I spend time with them now. Number one, who are the complainers? Who are the people that complain endlessly without looking for solutions? Like, whose mood brings you down? Who drains you? And consider this, if you have a tendency to complain, you should be careful not to spend time with other complainers because they will bring out your complaining tendencies, right? So for number one, you want to write down any names you can think of who are the complainers, right? It might be somebody at work and they're always finding someone or something, or they're complaining about management, they're complaining about other staff, and we need to insulate ourselves from it, you know? Now, number two is, who are the self-proclaimed victims? Not a true victim, but somebody who thinks the world is against them and blames all of their problems on someone else and avoids personal responsibility. You know, who are those that are just completely in love with victim mentality? Because those people can be a drain, and they can increase victim mentality consciousness in us and awaken our own tendencies to view ourselves as lowly victims and denying our personal responsibility. So we just want to think about who are those victim types. Number three, we should ask ourselves, who are the carping critics? So these are the ones that judge others for usually having a different opinion from theirs or from not having an opinion. But basically, like, who likes to sit around and drink and talk trash about other people, you know? Or who do you find yourself engaging in gossip with? Or you know, think about those people who negatively comment about others, especially on details that aren't even confirmed to be true. That's the essence of gossip. You know, think about people talking around the cooler at work, like they're just gossiping about people. So who are those critics? And then number four, who are the controllers? The controllers are the people who try to possess everyone and get them to do their bidding. And it's not from a place of wisdom as it comes from a place of you know, desire to control and possess and a bit of ego. You know, those kind of overbearing types. And the next question I would say is, who are the Karens? Now, by Karens, it's a term these days, but it basically means, who are those people that find a way to get offended by everything? So if you were to say to them, hey, you look good today, they would respond with, what, you mean I didn't look good yesterday? Right? So those kind of people that just create that negativity and agitate everyone around them. So who are the Karens? Okay. And then, you know, who are the competitors? The competitors are those who are always comparing themselves to others and trying to manipulate things to make themselves look better. Right? So they're bringing others down to build themselves up, or they're narcissistic. They live as though they matter more than other people. And they're always trying to one up others. And then the next one is, who are the old shoes in your life? Old shoe is like, you might have an old shoe and it's comfortable, but it doesn't give you the needed support. For example, this might be an ex-boyfriend, an ex-girlfriend, you know, the people that we keep around, even though it's not serving us at all. It's just a comfortable connection, but it's not supporting us. Right? Who are the old shoes? And then the last one is, who are the love dragons? Now, a love dragon is the people that when you get too close to them, they burn you. So yeah, exactly. So they'll just find a way to get offended or reactive and create a drama. And we can keep them in our life provided they're at a safe distance so they don't transfer the negative energy to you. It's kind of like if you had a pet dragon, you'd have to keep a safe distance so that
All this nature. I'm like on Wild Kingdom tonight.
yeah, totally. There it is there.
I apologize. I feel like it's kind of distracting, but I'm doing my best.
I love it. Are you kidding me? Please keep them coming. The Union Lodge Krishna's in the house.
Yeah. This is totally the theme of the night here, for sure.
Then there's Miss Bandit.
Oh my gosh. Anyway. Yeah, so who are the love dragons in your life? So now the next thing we'd want to consider is the options for what we do with the bad influences in our life. Okay, so this helps to tease out some of the bad influences in life. Now, Patty, do you have any thoughts before I kind of go into some ideas I have? Do you have any thoughts on how to best manage the bad influences in our life or things to consider?
Once we've recognized these ones that are no longer serving us in a way that's healthy and no longer supporting us, there's an ebb and flow in relationships. And so, sometimes distance makes the heart grow fonder because you're not with them as much. And you just kind of need to take a step back and kind of wean yourself off of these negative relationships. And I think I'm putting them into two categories: the energy gainers, where you gain energy off of them, and the energy drainers, right? We've heard that before, maybe. Energy gainers and energy drainers. And just go, man, is this person serving me? And then just be consistently and increasingly unavailable until that circle's just kind of closed off a little bit. That seems to work for me. I have a whole block and delete ministry that works well too. Just get rid of people on Facebook or social media that are just no longer in my feed because I don't like, them being there for whatever reason. There's different levels of circle of friends, right? There's those core 3, and then you maybe have, half a dozen here and then 12 here.
Yeah.
You got the 120 Jesus had running around with him. So, there's different spaces and places, but I really think at the end of the day, it's temperament driven.
Excellent. Very well said. So one of the things you talk about is I talk about treating them like junk food. So how do you create a healthy relationship with junk food? You can apply the same principles to people. Fill your schedule with more wholesome, beneficial things and people, so you have less room to fill up on the junk.
Good point.
Choose
Well said.
substitution instead of deprivation. Joel, do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, it's kind of, I don't know. I have a hard time including people that are battery drainers. So life is short, you can spend your whole life surrounded by people that just, complain or victims. And my mom was a victim for most of her life. And you got to be careful with, you can't always be choosy with who your family is, but at least you can choose who your friends are.
Yeah. Love your family, choose your friends, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yep.
Very well said. Chris, are you there?
Sorry. My bad.
I'm not sure if Chris is able to hear us
My
right
bad.
now. Chris, can you hear me?
You can have mine outside if it helps.
Okay, maybe Chris isn't in right now. Okay, so I would say this, like a lot of this comes down to boundary setting, and setting boundaries is difficult until it's easy, okay? And setting boundaries is necessary because environment, which includes your companions, is stronger than willpower, and we live in our minds. That's where reality is constructed. So we need to manage the influences that shape our mind and how we see things, because if you spend time with an evil person, their reality can become your reality and you're doomed, So that's one of the things to think about. Now, when it comes to family, people you're going to spend time with, that you have to spend time with, put on your armor before spending time with them. Build yourself up into a good mood, get some good rest so you have more capacity to handle their influence. When we're tired, hungry, or low energy, that's when we're more likely to give in to the negativity, right? You charge your batteries before you get together with them. Now, we're going to have some people where it's best to walk away from it. Some influences are so bad, it's best to walk away and avoid them altogether. It is so empowering to just say, this relationship is no longer serving me, and walk away in peace, right? So there can be empowerment to that, you know? So sometimes the price to pay to become the best version of yourself means, you know, enduring some of the pain that gets rid of a greater pain, right? Which sometimes means distancing ourselves from some of the influences. Now, there is also a category where somebody might be physically threatening. And that's a whole other way of setting boundaries. You know, if somebody might be physically threatening, you know, you can just tell them to call the cops. If they don't leave immediately, go inside, lock the doors, call the cops, whatever. So that's a whole other different type of category. In general, though, we're going to be dealing with the negative people, and those negative people are the ones that will induce negativity in your life and come up with all sorts of good sounding reasons to do it. So we have to be able to insulate ourselves and avoid them like you would avoid somebody who has the plague. Because if you contract the plague of negativity, it can ruin your whole reality, right? So we want to be careful not to mix, you know, if you lay down with dogs, you come up with fleas. So now let's go into a good influence audit. Okay, what do you think? Who should be the good influences in our life? What are your thoughts? Hey? She's really trying to communicate with us anyway. She's very attentive. Okay, so we want to think about this. Who are the role models? Who has more of what you want? Write down the names, okay? Who has the qualities you would desire to have in yourself? You know, if you want to be an artist, hang out with artists. You know, if you want to be good at business, hang out with people who are good at business. You want to be good at spirituality, hang out with those who are true spiritual giants, right? Like, you know, to develop ourselves is very difficult. We need a good example before us, you know, so that's important to consider. Who are your role models in your life, right? Now, another thing I'd encourage you to consider is, who are the encouragers? Who helps you regain confidence when you need it? Who pushes you to be the best version of yourself, to be better and build the life that you desire? You know? So we want to be able to identify, like, who are those cheerleaders that just kind of like root for us no matter what. And we want to, you know, deliberately seek their company if we can, and just find that group of people that helps us be better. Now, number 3, I would ask you to write down, like, who are the correctors? So who calls you out when you break your own standards? Who calls you out in a healthy way and steps in to correct you when you start to indulge in bad habits, bad attitudes, or bad thoughts, right? Some people don't have somebody like this in their life, and they become, and you can see them just go into a downward spiral with this stuff. We want to know, like, who offers helpful correctives of perspectives and stops you from affirming a wrong attitude or outlook on life. You know, who helps you see your opportunities to be better. So we want to, you know, surround ourselves with people who elevate our mindset and help us see things from a higher reality. Right? So that's number 3. Number 4, who are the energizers? Who are those ones that raise your energy, who are those people that are easygoing and fun? And just remember that how you manage your energy levels is one of the most crucial aspects of living your best life. Everything's harder if you have low energy. Everything. Eating healthy is hard when you have low energy. Exercising, doing your spiritual practice, performing well at work, relating to other people. We need to manage our energy, and there's some people who charge our batteries and some people drain them, right? So we want to be able to just take that into account. And then who are those number 5 would be, who are those who basically are loyal to us and love us unconditionally? You know, who stands beside you unchanging and true? Who are the people that love you not just in spite of, but also because of your limitations, right? So it's important to have those foundational people in our life. So those are some of the things, and we want to get a whole bunch of names down here. And then we want to figure out what to do with the people on the good influences list. So Patty, do you have any thoughts on ways we can optimize these good influences?
I think once you can grab a list of people who are falling into this category, it's good to get them on your calendar.
Ooh.
I think if we don't, we miss opportunities to connect with them because they're that valuable in our lives that we don't want to miss being able to connect with them. And sometimes, you know, I had something on my calendar today, which was to send a text message to a friend because I knew that tomorrow she was having a procedure. So I can't remember everybody's stuff, but if I put it on the calendar, I know that I can connect with her in a meaningful way, not because she's not important enough that I would forget, but because I don't, or you know, that I wouldn't remember, but I don't want to forget. I have a friend on Saturday, you know, I put on my calendar, hey, connect with, right? And we're going to go to lunch on Saturday. And I haven't seen her probably in about 4 months. So just keeping this list now, you know, fertile and active and cultivating the relationship means getting it on your calendar.
Love it. Love it. Yeah. And proximity is power. So, you know, if you want to lose weight, hang out with the fit people. You know, if you want to be better at making money, hang out with those people that are good at making money. Your standards, beliefs, and even the language you use with yourself starts to elevate. Right. So figure out, you know, where you want to go in life and who are the people that will naturally elevate you just through their proximity. Mix more with them. So excellent. Well said. Joel, do you have any thoughts on this? Anything to add?
In optimizing, I like what Patty said. Also, I always try to think in terms of providing value to people. Just that, you know, and also going back to peer groups, like I feel like I talk every single week to people about the importance of peer groups. You know, you lie down with dogs, you wake up with fleas. Like, you know, there's a metaphor of like, if you want to play a sport like tennis, like you don't play people that are worse than you play people that are better than you because it challenges you. But you know, in terms of optimizing that, I think just really, like Patty said, reinforcing those by spending time with people. And for me, it's even also trying to find ways to like, yeah, provide value, give back, support them when they need it. Yeah, just be a, you know, don't just be a battery drainer yourself, you know, be somebody that gives back. And so, you know, I feel like everybody that's on this call does that too.
Love it. Love it. Yeah. So the best way to acquire a good friend is to act like a good friend. Yeah. And if you want to make friends, be friendly, right? So I love that, thinking like, how can I serve? How can I be a value add to this person? Great. Great. I think another thing is to just choose these people intentionally, right? So develop a support team, choose these people intentionally, recruit people who are going to be part of your circle. And, you know, there's nothing holier in the world than to keep good company. Good impressions will come to the surface, as Swami Vivekananda said. Nothing holier in the world than to keep good company. Good impressions will come to the surface. And then I think an additional point would be call on these people to lift you up when you're down and get their help to see your challenges from a higher perspective and to help you see your hidden blind spots. Like really just call on these people when you need them, right? So excellent. Great points on how to optimize the good influences. Now, there's some myths when it comes to the company we keep. And let's spend time discussing some of these myths. So sometimes people will say, I'm spending time with negative people in order to help them. Okay, I'm justified in keeping my bad company. So do any of you have any thoughts on that? On how that might not be
if I'm not mentoring somebody in that space, I don't keep their company.
Mm-hmm.
It is too costly to me.
Excellent. Excellent.
I had a good friend I was talking to yesterday that's considering going through divorce, and he acknowledged that, and he's been working at this for 10 years, and just, I am always someone to try to like figure out how to make it work. It sounds like they're better people when they're not together. So maybe it's, maybe that's how it goes sometimes, but he did acknowledge that she was one of those people that needed fixing. And he said, if this does go through and I do, end up with someone else down the road, I definitely should try to find someone that is already, a confident, strong, capable person, and not somebody that is a project. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but yeah, you got to be careful who you spend your time on, especially if the people don't want to be fixed.
Yeah,
because in reality, people can only fix themselves. You can give them tools, and that can help, but they have to be willing to change.
Yes, yeah. So one thing to consider that is applied from Camila Silva, who wrote the author of the Flawless Mirror book. She says, basically you cannot reform others unless you are a master of peace and calm. So unless you are a master, otherwise they will affect you with their strong, undesirable qualities. You receive their vibrations through association. So she says, avoid those with strong tendencies you don't wish to absorb. Swami Kriyananda also says that there is indeed such a thing as induced negativity, right? There's some form of mutual resonance with this negativity, kind of like tuning forks. They just get the negativity going in us, right? To accomplish anything in life means making hard choices often, and this can be one of them. And what often happens is that they pull you down instead of you lifting them up, right? Because we may not realize, our ego may tell us we are not susceptible to their weaknesses. But truth through experience, we kind of see that they might drag us down rather than the opposite. So, you can't dance in the fire without expecting to get burned. You can't, as Yogananda said, you can't be around either a skunk or a rose without being affected by it. It is best to associate only with human roses, right? So anyway, company is stronger than willpower. We might have a will to be a positive influence, but even if you were to leave your coat in a room where people are smoking, pretty soon it starts to smell like coat or like smoke. Your coat smells like smoke if you leave it in a place where there's smokers, right? So all of this stuff can get absorbed into us. And there's a fine line between tough love and enabling. And I'm just waiting for Joel to catch a fish. It looks like he's fly fishing out there, right? Anyway, and when I talk to people, when people are trying to help others, in many cases, the people they are trying to help would literally require like a triple PhD in psychology to help them untangle the toxic thought habits that created a mess out of their life. And it's like, are you truly the best person to be helping them? Like, all you're doing is harming yourself and enabling them, right? Like, be honest. You do not know how to untangle the mess this person got themselves into, despite all your best intentions. You are blind to the higher wisdom they need, and you're falling into the habit of being the blind leading the blind, which is what lots of good intention people do all the time. We never think of ourselves as doing it, but it's like, and then also, like, if you swim with the sharks, there's a high likelihood the sharks will turn on you and attack you at some point. So we just need to be careful with that. Now, a lot of times people say this. Let's go on to another myth. People say, oh, but it's entertaining to do this stuff. It's fun. It's fun to hang out with people and gossip, right? So what would be a corrective of perspective for those who choose to indulge with bad influences based on pleasure as a reason? Patty, any thoughts?
It's just messy. I can't see any fruit in it at all. I mean, it just tells me the quality of their character if they're getting off on hanging out and gossiping about other people. Like, I just, at some point for me, if I'm hearing that, that tells me all I need to know about them. And if I'm close enough to them that I'm hearing that, then I'm definitely keeping them out of my space. I mean, we have 168 hours in the week. So everybody's get the same amount of time. We only have a finite amount of time for relationship. And so we need to be mindful of how valuable that time is and how we're using it to foster relationships as it relates to the plans and purposes that we have in our life. And if all you have to do is sit down and gossip about other people and trash talk people while you're doing whatever else extracurricular activities, I just don't have a time and space for it.
Mm-hmm. Love it. Love it. Yeah. It's, and if when we think about what matters most in life, too often our apparent friends are actually the enemies of our higher purpose in life. They are the enemies of our highest interest, and they contribute to killing off our highest potential.
Frenemies.
Frenemies. There you go. Absolutely. Absolutely. Joel, any thoughts on this one?
Can you reframe the question?
You know, some people justify hanging out with bad influences,
right,
and say it's okay to do it because it's fun.
Yeah, I mean, it just always seems like people that hang out that way, and I mean, to each their own, but it's always kind of a superficial level. Like they're not usually, I don't know, contributing on a deeper level. Or again, I go back to challenging you on a deeper level. It's just always, I think of like people that play video games, people that watch porn, people that, whatever it is, it's just this very topical sense of fulfillment that's just never satisfied, because there's always, it's just, there's never fulfillment there. It's just always more to be desired. And for me, again, I prefer substance.
Yeah. So that's a great point you bring up. And, it might be a better use of our time to cultivate inner peace instead of feeding nervous excitement and restless emotions with all these surface level social interactions that are low quality. It might be better to cultivate deeper wisdom and understanding rather than just getting all riled up and excited and then back to square one. Right? I think the entertainment value is overrated. It doesn't last, but wisdom lasts and self-mastery is lasting. Right? And then the entertainment value of these relationships can bring troubles. I think it's more entertaining and more productive to build people up. Right? You can only serve one of two agendas. Are you going up or are you going down? Why devote all of our time to the fleeting excitements and spectacles of life when we can go much deeper than that? So, excellent. So, here's a good thing for us to kind of consider next. A good thing to consider next is for action steps. We might want to ask ourselves, what do I need more of in my life right now? Just ask yourself that. What do I need more of in my life right now? What thoughts or ideas would benefit me most right now? We want to take some time to think about that and whose influence might be able to bring more of that into my life. Maybe we just want more peace in our life. Well, great. Plug into some peaceful people. Maybe just mix more with the people who radiate goodness. If you just need more goodness to balance out all the negativity and the news and social media and everything going on in the world, right? So seek out those who have more of what you're looking for to balance yourself out. Maybe spend time at work with those people who are focused on positive solutions instead of the grumblers, gossipers, and complainers, right? Because it just gives us a negative perspective of our workplace, right? So just leverage other people, who's competent in the areas that you're looking to improve in. Make a list and then ask, how might I engage them individually? Or how might I bring these people together? All of us together. Any thoughts on action steps for what do I need more of in my life right now? Patty, any thoughts?
Well, I was at the post office last week, and there was this lady who was hustling like to get labels put on these boxes, and she was there probably a good 30 minutes just running this whole game. And when I finally made it up to my space in line where I was close to her, I said, it looks like you're running a business up in here. And she said, yes, I am. It's really good. She said, I said, what do you do? She said, I make planners. And it's school is coming up to be open again. And so I'm marketing these to teachers on Amazon. It's great. And I said, I love your entrepreneurial spirit. I would love to be able to connect with you. And the reason why is because I felt an energy. Oh, yes. And yes. Praise break. Look at that. Fantastic, Joel. You guys are awesome. I'm telling you, you're bringing them in.
Sorry to interrupt. Keep going.
Let's see, Joel. I didn't see it. I missed it. Let's see. What'd you get there?
It's already back in the water. Sorry, it was a big brown trout.
Okay. Yeah,
Okay.
Fantastic. So just this energy that she was exuding off of her, I connected with. I'm like, man, this woman's fired up. And I love that because my business is thriving right now too. And I would love to connect with this woman. So I exchanged phone numbers with her. Do I have time in my day? Absolutely, for somebody like that. Like, because I'm like, I can see where she can add value to me and bring energy to my space. So I wanted to reach out and connect to her. I think it takes courage to reach out and connect with these relationships, because sometimes I think our self-esteem or our self-worth or a lack of confidence keeps us from being in a place of wanting to be in front of people who are doing better than we are.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think one of the action steps is to take courage to step out and get acquainted with new relationships that will be productive and positive and assist you in just exploring the opportunity of it anyway.
Yeah. Love it. Love it. Also, what did you think of that one, eh? She's your biggest fan. She's your biggest fan. Yes. Excellent. Well said. Joel. So basically you recognize somebody who's an entrepreneur with high energy, and you thought, I need more of that in my life. I'm connecting with that person, and you made it happen. That's exactly what we're talking about. Identifying what do you need more of in your life and who can give that to you, right?
Yeah, for me, it's actually a lot of needing, focus, time management, organization, people that have their crap together. Again, like you guys.
Yeah.
Here's my dragonfly. Now I did buy this. It's wooden, but look, it balances. It's so neat.
I love it. It's super
it's
cute.
show and tell. It's the only natural thing I have in here.
Love it. So
this is the extent of my nature.
This is a very nature themed session. There we go. I've had the chipmunks around here. I've just been distracted with the little mass bandit over here. She keeps coming back. There she is. She's just so the next question we should say is, what do I need less of in my life right now? What do I need less of in my life? What do I need to insulate myself from? Who are the people that make it worse? How might I protect my personal space and my thoughts from the intrusions of the world? How can I keep my guard up and not allow certain negative influences to mess things up? Right?
I stay away from people who are politically driven, in one camp or another. In the United States, it is an energy drainer. Whatever political platform they're on, it does not serve anything for me. So I stay away from that. As a matter of fact, I shut it down as quickly as I can. I don't engage in it.
That's a good point. And I think sometimes we can set boundaries on not just people, but conversation topics. So we can avoid discussing things that bring us down, whether it's politics or talking negatively about somebody. You can interrupt and say, let's not talk about politics. Right? Or you can say, hey, do you mind if we talk about something other than politics? Right? I'm pretty maximized on discussing this subject right now. So that might be more an appropriate response, just to set boundaries on some of these things. Just because people will try to take you there. Even sometimes people who aren't necessarily the negative downers might try to go there because they've been hanging out with those negative downer, Debbie Downer types. Right. So yeah, we can decide what conversation topics are we going to avoid. I don't like to talk negatively about people in my industry at all. So when people try to talk negatively about other people who work in the health and fitness industry, I don't engage in it at all. I shut it down right away. If they try to get me to talk smack about somebody else and this and that, for example, you know. Joel, do you have any thoughts on things we should avoid and how to do that?
Yeah, I mean, you guys brought up a lot of good ones with especially with political stuff. It seems like these days people don't want to like find the truth. They just want to be right. And I mean, I'm guilty of that sometimes, just like self-justification sometimes in relationships. But when you just have people that don't want to grow, don't want to learn, I have kind of an allergy to people that, you know, just again have that victimization. It's just that in my childhood, that's kind of what I grew up with, and I got to see it a lot, and it got old fast. It's like, why don't you change something? It's like, oh, well, I'm not capable of changing something. Yeah, you are. You're the master of your ship. Yeah, just, you know, complainers, people that have addictions and are unwilling to deal with it, which is tough. I mean, again, I'm always happy to invest time if I think there's room for progress, but some people just are comfortable in a comfortable place and they don't want to get uncomfortable.
Perfect. Well said. I think with complainers, I have a rule. You either dance with it or you tap out. So let me explain this. For dancing with it, you can say, hey, look, this is how I connect. Let's talk about what's good about this situation, what can be learned, and how we can make it better. We'll do I go, you go. Let's take turns, come up with as many perspectives as we can on what's good, what can be learned, how can we make it better. So rather than staying problem focused, I make an attempt to get them to dance with me on solution focus. Okay. Now, or I might say something more simple. I might say, look, I'm curious. What do you think the universe is trying to teach you through this experience? Like, that's an easier one to remember. Just say, I'm curious. What do you think this experience is trying to teach you? You know, so now if they continue or they resist, which some people will, some people get angry if you try to break them out of their negativity, right? And if that happens, you can just tap out, right? You can just tap out and you can say, hey, look, sorry, but I really can't discuss this right now. Maybe I'm just funny like this, but I can't talk about this subject anymore. You know, it brings me down. And just tap out. You're setting a boundary. Hey, look, let's not talk about this subject anymore. I can't handle this anymore. I'm maximized. Right? Usually they can handle that tap out if you make it about you being the problem. I can't handle this. I'm maximized, rather than making it about them, like, you know, and making them feel guilty. Right? So, and if you say I'm maximized, it's probably accurate. You're not being dishonest. I think we've already got enough negativity facing us in life. You know, why open the door to more? You know what I'm saying? So I think that can be, you know, dance with it or tap out. That's it with those kinds of things. So anyway, here's a question. How might we be a better influence on other people? What are some thoughts on that? How can we be good, even better influences than we already are? Because let's be honest, we're not perfect. We're evolving souls. We're works in progress, right? So what are some thoughts you have, Patty?
Well, I think one of the things that Joe had mentioned earlier is really powerful here, and that's just bringing value to your relationships. You know, what can you do to add value to not only that person or their family or their business, but you know, to your relationship with them, right? So I think that's one way.
Excellent. Joel, you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, so it's interesting. I think as a parent of 3 kids, one of the best ways is just to be a good example for others, like make good choices. But then also, one thing I learned from my wife, she's really good at asking great questions. And it's tough because you can't go to people and be like, hey, this is what you should be doing. The wall goes up. They're like, yeah, whatever, mind your own business, blah, blah, blah. So, I mean, it's great to ask good questions. And also, if it's somebody that wants to work on stuff, like acknowledge some good things, praise them a couple of times, and then say, hey, maybe have you thought about this? So they're in a place to receive it. But definitely, yeah, just setting a good example, living a good, a life of good character, good choices, but also challenging people in ways that could be as simple as a question.
Excellent. Yeah. And I think, one of the things I think we need to consider is that, wanting to be healthy doesn't make us healthy, right? Just like wanting to be good friends doesn't make us good friends with people. It takes the right effort. And, Baltasar Gracian in the 1600s, he wrote The Art of Worldly Wisdom. And he said the best way to win friends is to act like one. Right. And he said nothing bewitches like service to others. Right. Which is basically what you've said here. So I think part of that is be more interested in listening to other people rather than getting them to listen to you. Be more interested in giving than receiving. When people are in despair, give them hope. When people are in darkness, give them the light of wisdom. Right. And I think Swami Kriyananda once said, never allow competitiveness to pollute the river of friendship. And one of the things that the Buddha said was, a good friend points out mistakes and imperfections and rebukes evil, and we should respect them as though they reveal the secret of some hidden treasure. Right? Like just respecting those who might give us the tough love sometimes that we need, because it is treasure. Sometimes we need that feedback. And I think we should also be less worried about whether others like us. And we should do more of a job of disciplining ourselves to like them. Like really discipline yourself to see the best in other people. And there's an energy to that. And it's palpable. People can tell when you are making the effort to see the best in them. And I think another thing is rejoice in their good fortune rather than drawing unfavorable comparisons to your own condition. Sometimes there's a lot of friends and they'll just say, you share with them something nice that happened and they're like, oh, must be nice, and then they share something downward pulling about their own situation, right?
Yeah, two things that you just mentioned. The first one, you mentioned listening. I mentioned a friend of mine that, is thinking he may need to get divorced, which is really challenging. And he talked literally probably like 5-6 hours. And I just tried my very best to listen. And sometimes that really helps people, like more than just trying to give advice or give opinions. And I've tried to work on that lately because like earlier in my life, I would always just kind of, here's how you fix it. Here's this, da, 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 da. And I think it really requires more skill to like strategically listen and be patient with people.
Absolutely. And listening without judgment. Right? Because a lot of times we listen with and the judgment muscles start flexing, and we should just listen and try to put ourselves into their position and relate to their reality. So try to imagine what it's like to be in their mind and circumstance and listen from that perspective. Just try to immerse yourself in their reality. Right?
And then also you mentioned rejoicing for people. There was a time when I'm a business owner and I had hired people, and then the people that I hired quit and started up another business that competed with me. And at the time, again, I was younger, young 20s, and I'd be like, I don't know, in my core, I wouldn't say it out loud, but in my core, I'd be like, I hope they kind of fail at what they're doing. But one thing that, Tony Robbins really helped with was just that concept that you can't be happy unless you want other people to be happy. You can't succeed unless you want them to succeed. Like even the people, whoever it is. And honestly, there's no reason to be happy for people. I mean, the way I see it, we're one family of mankind. We're all brothers and sisters. And the more that we can all be happy for each other and support each other, the less we're going to have, wars and all the fighting and garbage.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said. And I think, and in terms of spreading that happiness, I think it's important that we watch ourselves and we don't poison other people's minds by talking about our own difficulties and complaints in a way that brings them down. Right? But it should be the appropriate setting for advice. Now, I happen to have this guy's picture. Sri Yukteswar, right here. This guy right here. Okay. He's my role model on friendship. Okay. And here's why. He once said this to somebody. Okay. He said, I will be your friend from now until eternity, no matter whether you are on the lowest mental plane or on the highest plane of wisdom. I'll be your friend even if you should err, for then you will need my friendship more than at any other time. Right? Like, think about how powerful that is. He's not just swearing friendship over one lifetime. Like, that is somebody who was a true spiritual master, who was, telling one of his devotees, like, this is the kind of friendship I give. Right? Like, and I think that's powerful. And I aspire to be more like him as a role model, and in the way that he approaches just having that level of compassion and unconditional love for other beings, and plays that out through friendship. So I think this subject matters. It's always going to matter. And there are ways for us to make the best of it. The environment and company we keep are of the utmost importance in our life mission. There is probably not going to be any period in our lives when it does not matter. Life, Yogananda once said that life is a vast school. There's a lesson to be learned in everything. But just as naughty boys in school engage in mischief and try to distract other children and pay no attention to the teacher and then fail to graduate and have to take the same class again, so it is with most people. Bad boys who fail on their exam have to return again and again in shame to confront the same lessons, right? And for those who believe in reincarnation, this might be what he's alluding to. We keep failing because we keep going the wrong way instead of the right way. So good students, however, develop into wise men, whether it's Christ, Krishna, Buddha, all the enlightened ones who finished their training, graduated with honors. They don't have to come back to the school of life anymore unless by their own free will, again, they return to help others. So it's all about just being in the school of life and who are the good study mates, because we always suffer the consequences of our unlearned lessons. So who can help us better understand the curriculum and succeed in the school of life? I think that's what makes this one of the most important subjects. So let's go into key takeaways. Patty, what are some of your key takeaways from tonight's discussion, the old shoe on our social diet?
Like to pause now and just interject into my mind as we're talking about this, because I think it's an area where I need a little bit of help in navigating as it relates to relationships. But last Tuesday, I had a friend of mine who said, hey, every time I call you and I FaceTime you, your partner's in the room and I have to initiate and say hi. It doesn't seem like he's engaging me. And you know what? I don't think we're going to be able to be friends. So I don't like where this is going. I don't chase after people. I can continue to be your friend, but I'm not delving into that relationship. And I was kind of taken aback by it inside, but my outside said, thank you so much for your honesty, and your perspective about what's happening in the relationship. She's a counselor. One of the things that she had said there was, I'm surprised he hasn't contacted me and asked, hey, how can I get to know Patty better? These are some areas where I want to do better in this relationship. And she said, he's never come to me about any of that. We're in the process of doing some premarital counseling. And so I reached out to her to see if she might have a contact that's outside of state, just because of my local influence in the area. And so she gave me somebody in Texas. And when he found out that there was a connection between our personal friend here, which he calls, his friend as well, just making sure that there would be confidentiality in that, that counselor in Texas said, absolutely, unless there's a written something or rather, it's, everything's confidential here. And he felt comfortable with that. And so he's seeing it as a relationship, but he's viewing relationship different than she is, right? In this deep we have a much deeper, closer connection over the last several years than, him who's just known her a few months and not really a lot of opportunity to connect. And so how do you handle the dynamic of somebody in your inner circle who's like, hey, love you, not going to connect with your partner, but I can still love you, and discount that part of your life and still focus here?
Yeah. And you know what's one of the good things about this situation? That you are wise. And Patty Baker always finds a way. She's done it before and will again. And all the resources you need are inside you. So that's a good, interesting challenge related to this whole social diet situation and how some ingredients might not be mixing so well, right?
I had an interesting idea too. Somebody who was talking about how sometimes people come into our lives because there's something they need to learn or something that we need to learn, but it may not be that we need to like be connected to that person for the rest of our lives. It's like there's nothing there to learn anymore. We've already done this. With the progress has already happened. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess I wouldn't overthink it. Maybe if it was me, like if there was any validity, I would, if there's something I need to change, I always take that as a welcome opportunity to change.
Mhm.
I've had good friends in my life that I've had to say, goodbye to and wish them well. And yeah, so I would just say, don't overthink it, but improve if there's a need to improve. And if not, just don't worry about it. Don't think about it. Because there's a lot of people in life that, a lot of the point of this whole conversation is there will be people in your life too that, just one way or another drain your battery. So if it's better that it's not, part of your current experience, that's fine too. But that doesn't mean you can't do it if you need to. I don't know if that's all.
Right. So basically what you're saying is people come into your life for a reason,
Yep.
for a season,
Yep.
or for a lifetime.
Yeah.
And sometimes people are just there for a reason, just there for a season, and we try to make it a lifetime thing.
Mhm.
And, having them doesn't free us up to meet other people who have a reason or a season or even are meant to spend a lifetime with us, right? So there's an opportunity cost to hanging on to relationships that have clearly expired, hit an expiry date, and no longer serve us. They're like an old shoe, comfortable, but doesn't give us the support we need. And sometimes we just need to be able to know that what's important is that we finish this race of our life and do the best job we can. And we need the right footwear to be able to do our job, right? So yeah, reason, season, or a lifetime.
I think one of the things that you said was being in this place where you're in the relationship because you need to be needed, right? And so she's not needed in this capacity, and that's impacting her in a negative way, number one. Number two, I don't see a reason to, ban the relationship. One of the things I value about her is that she's honest, even in the midst of maybe not a full understanding on my part of what she's got going on. If my partner's in the room talking to somebody, I don't reach into the conversation and say hello. I just, I just don't do things like that. But, you see some immaturity in relationship there. And so there's some acceptance to where people are relationally. And then you have to always be asking yourself, okay, she's not able to support me in this area of my life. Is there enough value in this relationship in the other areas of my life for her to continue to still be my friend? And that's just an area. Now the relationship dynamic has changed in that it's solely focused on, our areas where we overlap in influence in our community. As pastors. So, I value how open and upfront that she was about it, because it's one of the things that I love about her. And it's also revealing to me. So I don't feel offended by it, but I think we need to be aware that when we have conversations with friends that we are in a space where we can accept what they're saying because of where they are, and then be able to adjust our expectation of the relationship accordingly.
Yeah. I think you bring up a good point, is that there might be discomfort in this relationship and there might be pain, but is it good pain or bad pain, right? Is it a healthy challenge you're getting, some brutal honesty and perspective you need, or is it inappropriate, right? And is there other value? Like, are they making me better? Are they in some ways a person I would want to be? Do they challenge me in healthy ways? You know, would I recommend this relationship to somebody I care about? Right? Asking ourselves some of these things, you know, like, and then also thinking like, are they a role model for me? Do they encourage me? You know, do they give me correctives of perspectives? Can they energize me? And are they unconditionally loyal? Right? So we may want to just, you know, rather than isolate one variable and deem this as a relationship that doesn't serve us, just see it holistically. Right? And that realize that some of our best friends also make us the most uncomfortable, but that's a good discomfort.
And I think also there's a level of maturity that has to come into play when you're dealing with higher quality relationships.
Yeah.
So you have to ask yourself constantly, you know, because again, you're changing energy and time. Money, you'll always get. You can always turn a buck. Time, okay, you can't manufacture it. But energy, like you said, Brendan, you either got it or you don't. And it doesn't matter how much money and how much time, but if you don't have the energy, then you can't expend it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So that concludes our conversation tonight on social diet. Oh, my little friend just ran. She's afraid of the computer, actually.
By the way, my key takeaway is that it's super important to have this conversation, because I notice that a lot of people in life don't think about the quality of their friends and how much it can impact their life and their attitude and everything. I mean, like you said at the beginning, like if you're surrounding yourself with complainers, guess what? You're going to probably be a complainer. You surround yourself with entrepreneurs, you're going to gravitate that way. Like it's a super meaningful thing to consider and evaluate, and maybe be willing to let go of people that don't serve your best growth.
Yeah, we're all just human tuning forks. Okay. And we all come into resonance with who we're surrounding ourselves with. And I can say the people in this group have been nothing but uplifting for me. So I'm grateful for you all. And I'm grateful for the people that tune in and join in with the comments when we post the video after. And this is our humble way of trying to add value and love and wisdom to people, because we care about people. And we're all in this. There you go. There you go. And we're all in this school of life together. And Chris, that includes you, even though we haven't heard a thing from you. We've just seen Union Lodge this whole time, but we appreciate your presence, participating in the best way you were capable of tonight.
We love you, Chris.
All right, let's do go team on 3. Fist bump, group hug, we're out. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3, go team.
Go team. Group hug. I love you all. Thanks for being my high quality friends and making a new friend, Miss Bandit. Good night.
Goodbye, Mr. Raccoon.